big fan of AI technology, but after what I just found, I don't think any of us will be able to survive. The nightmare began when I stumbled across a new AI image generator, and within a few minutes it had me hooked. You give it a prompt and it will produce an image of that prompt. I had seen similar AI generators in the past, but what amazed me about this one is how specific the prompt could be. When I brought up the site, I sat long and hard thinking about the first prompt I wanted to give the generator. I thought back to around 3 months ago when my friend Jeremy was killed. He forgot to look both ways while crossing the road, and was taken out by a semi-truck. Jeremy's death struck me hard, because it made me realize how fragile life is. If Jeremy had only looked both ways, or if he had somehow known what was going to happen before it happened. I typed, "How am I going to die?" into the generator, and hit enter. This was the biggest mistake of my life. I should have just closed the tab, but I didn't. The generator started loading, and kept loading. It was taking a very long time, much longer than all the other prompts. I began to feel foolish, thinking I'd finally managed to give it a broken prompt. I mean, of course I did. It had been a profoundly stupid prompt. However, it suddenly produced an image. It was an image of an old man in a yellow hat. I stared into the old man's frown, those sunken eyes and that pale complexion. It was horrifying, so I decided I had enough and closed the tab. My prompt had simply confused the generator and it had produced a random incoherent image. That's all. Obviously, an AI generator had no idea how I was going to die. However, I was wrong, and that old man would soon become my worst nightmare. The following day, I was running errands downtown and had quickly forgotten about the image from the night before. It had faded away from my memory like a bad dream. As I was walking to my car, I got this uncomfortable feeling that someone was watching me. When I looked back, I saw the old man in the yellow hat. It was unmistakably him. He had the same bright yellow hat, the same deep frown, the pale skin, and those horrible sunken eyes. He was across the street and he was staring at me, and his hands were opening and closing in a slow, violent motion. He began to walk towards me. He walked in a strange manner, like someone who had never walked before and was only just learning how. Like something that was only pretending to be human, pretending to wear an old man's face. I expected other people to react, but no one else seemed to notice him. People walked past him without giving him a second glance. As he crossed the road, I thought for sure he was going to get hit by a car, but he weaved right through traffic and no driver paid him any mind, not even a single honk. Morbidly, I thought of Jeremy getting hit by that semi. There was one other person that noticed him. It was a little girl who looked right at the old man and then began crying. The little girl's mom looked up to see if she could spot what had caused her daughter to become so distraught, but not once did her eyes land on the old man. He walked past her like a ghost, and as he got closer to me, that deep frown began to turn upwards into a horrible grin. I immediately got in my car and drove straight home. On the way back, I told myself I'd only been seeing things, that there was no way he could be real. When I got home, I immediately locked all the doors and bolted into my room. I brought up the AI generator and again asked it, "How am I going to die?" I needed the generator to produce a new image. I needed it to show me that the image of the old man had just been a random image it had conjured and that now it would do that again. I needed it to prove that ChatGPT had no way of knowing how I was going to die. My thoughts were cut short when it produced the same image of the old man. This was impossible. How could the AI possibly know the future? I asked it again and it gave me the same image. I asked it about 50 more times and every time it was the same image of the old man in the yellow hat. I got up to grab my phone so that I could call the police, but I was interrupted by a banging on my window. There, plastered against the window, was the face of the old man in the yellow hat, his sunken eyes staring directly into mine. That malicious grin spread wider, his teeth long and discolored. But what was even more terrifying was what was reflected in those cold, dead eyes. I quickly backed away, heart racing, and made my way to the door. But just as I was about to reach it, I froze. From under the door, a faint yellow light began to seep in. And then the sound, a deep rhythmic humming, like a lullaby gone wrong. The handle slowly began to turn. I retreated, searching for an escape, but then I remembered. The AI generator. Maybe it knew how to escape this nightmare. I rushed to the computer and with trembling fingers I typed, "How can I escape the old man?" It loaded for what felt like hours, and then an image appeared on the screen. It was a silhouette of a young man and what looked to be a larger figure standing next to him. As the rest of the image loaded, I immediately knew what it was. It was me, sitting in front of that exact computer and the old man in the yellow hat standing right behind me.